Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's day 14 of the CuppaChino Club um, Social TV challenge. Challenge. I'm getting all tongue-tied. But welcome to the show. I'm Brigitte Limbanda from Cape Town in South Africa. Welcome to our social channel. We've been going live every single day for the last 14 days of the 21-day lockdown in South Africa. We're basically wanting to get in touch with our community and everyone else wherever you may be in the world. So welcome to everyone on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. Great to have you with us. If you're joining us live, say hello to us in the comments. Let us know where you're joining us from and talk about your local experience. Tell us what's happening in your world. So Viola and I are in Cape Town in South Africa, and we'd love to know where you're joining us from. Viola, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brigitte. It's comforting to know that somebody as experienced as you well can also get tongue-tied on occasion. So it makes the rest of us novices feel quite I feel a lot more comforted. But yes, I'm saying hi to you from Cape Town. I'm completely biased, but I do believe it's the most beautiful city in the world. And we're privileged and blessed to live here. So to everybody who's joining us today, welcome.
Absolutely. And it's a funny thing. Now, I do want to sort of say that neither one of us are medical experts, but we have seen reports that South Africa may not be as hard hit as the rest of the world with the effects of the coronavirus because of our policy to have the BCG vaccine here. That having that vaccine in South Africa is not an option. So almost every South African virtually has been immunized at birth with a BCG vaccine. And it would seem that that is a possible reason why our figures are relatively low compared to the rest of the world, and why Africa's figures in general are lower than the rest of the world. So it's going to be exciting. As I said, this is not a medical opinion. Neither one of us are medical professionals.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to watch that development.
Yes.
And see. And I think it's particularly good news for South Africa and for Africa.
Yes.
Because we can least afford to have the coronavirus be a runaway fire here. Our population is too poor in general, and people live in close proximity. We've got a very vulnerable community. So if this is indeed true, this is great news for South Africa and Africa.
Yes, that's true. One of the biggest concerns we had was the fact that we have a population that we have a huge part of our population that have compromised immune systems, and it was scary in the beginning. Just the thought of this virus being around, and just specifically targeting people with compromised immune systems more harshly. But again, it would be interesting to see, once all of it's died down, and there's going to be so many opportunities for research and so many things to consider. So I'm absolutely certain that this will also be something that they would talk about. I also am quite proud of the local work that our universities are doing with regards to the coronavirus. I'm incredibly proud of the University of the Western Cape and the work that they're doing, as well as the work that UCT is doing. So our universities are getting down to it. Our researchers are getting down to it. And so I think a shout out needs to go to everybody who's working behind the scenes on trying to find a long-term solution to the crisis that we're facing. And it's something interesting today, Brigitte. We speak a lot about how challenges breed opportunities, but
yes.
it's not opportunities for everybody. I saw one of the comments that said, challenges don't always breed opportunities for everybody, but the one thing challenges do breed for, I think, everybody is change, and it's how you adapt and adjust to that change. And I think that's really been what we've been discussing, is how have people been adapting to change. And I know for many people, this has just been, I've read reports now that child abuse has increased in France, which is something we would never have considered would happen, on news. on News 24. There are just so many things developing at the moment, so many new insights that we never thought we would, be discussing. So this whole coronavirus has really been just introducing new topics to all of us, and we've had to think differently about quite a lot of things.
Oh, absolutely. Now, we're supposed to have a phenomenal lady on our show today, Melanie Burke. She's the chairperson of Street Smart South Africa, which is a non-profit organization dedicated to helping South Africa's most vulnerable children, talking about our vulnerable community. And the Street Smart South Africa was founded in Cape Town in 2005, and it's raised over 11,006 million over 15 years in aid of 31 organizations that care for street children and children at risk living on the street. And they get the donations through partnerships with restaurants, accommodation establishments, wine tasting venues in the Western Cape, Garden Route, and Gauteng. And it would be interesting talking to her, because these sectors that have been donating money are now part of the at-risk sectors that have been affected by COVID-19. Now, Melanie has got a problem with her internet connection and connecting with us.
Yeah.
So, Melanie, if you are able, is she having an issue with her internet connection?
She's up in the mountains, but she says that it looks like she's winning, so she'll probably join us in the next 5 minutes or so. So yeah, Melanie's an amazing woman. She's done amazing work. Very, very, has a lot of insight in terms of business and the business community. I also think that she's going to be able to share quite a lot with us around those targeted industries. She works very closely with those industries, and it's going to be really interesting to just hear how these things have been affecting her. So Melanie travels extensively. She's also very involved with the leadership course that she can tell us a little bit more about, and has just had tremendously, sort of really influential people run through that course with her. So she's got quite a lot to contribute. And I'm finding that that's also been quite interesting, is that a lot of people who are in these influential positions, are also just, I think, sort of been silenced by the impact of coronavirus. I don't know, we're hearing some of the regular voices speaking, but I would like to know where some of the usual suspects are. Some of the the ministers and I'm talking about our local municipality. Have you heard anything from some of the local ministers? I've heard a lot. Alan Winde was excellent. I was listening to him on the radio. He was excellent in his comments about the potential extension of the lockdown. Have you heard any of our local ministers or MECs, Brigetti?
I haven't. What I have been doing to a large extent in the last few days is shutting out the media a little bit. And I know it sounds strange for what I do,
Yeah.
but I do believe that it's healthy to take a step back now and then and not follow every single news item.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy for one's mental health. You do have to kick back. You do have to keep it in check. You don't want to put your head in the sand like an ostrich, but you do want to maintain a balance. So I have zoned out for a few days, and I'm just surfacing and ready to sort of see what's happening, and looking forward to the president's address at 8 p.m. This evening.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting to hear what he says. Now, I see Melanie back in the studio. Melanie, we're going to try to bring you on. I'm not seeing a visual of you, which means that very likely your internet connection is still patchy. I'm going to bring you on screen, and just we can try it out. If it doesn't work, Melanie, if you can join us in the comments, we can chat to you that way. So let's see. I'm going to try and bring you on screen and see if it works. If it doesn't, please join us in the comments, and we'll try our best that way. Melanie, are you able to hear us? I can't, we don't have a visual, and I know that that is because the internet connection is very patchy. But if you are able to hear us, let us know. Okay, I don't think that this is going to work. I think the internet connection is not strong enough, because I should be able to get a visual back in the green room in the studio, and I'm not. So Melanie, if you're following us, please join us via the comments. I can see Melanie is trying, and I know it's very, very unfortunate. You know, one of the things with technology and live streaming in particular, if you are wanting to use this as a technology, and it's a great way of keeping in touch with your community, with your clients, and informing them of what's happening, staying in touch with them, creating relationships. It's the one thing that live streaming is fantastic for. But you do need an internet connection. And, you know, we talked about this a few times during our conversation, is, you know, that we always want to be mindful of our privilege. And we sometimes neglect to realize that having a good internet connection is part of our privileged position, because the spaza mamas, for example, don't have access to the internet, or, you know, some of the small businesses. So we want to be thankful for what we do have.
Brigitte, is it at all possible for us to bring her in on the telephone maybe, and just put it onto speaker and see what it hears like if I do that on my side?
We can try that. We can certainly try that. I could also try that.
Do you want to try from your side, or should I try? Sorry to our audience. It's just, you know, I would love for you to speak to Melanie. She's just amazing. You almost we've got to have her on the show, even if it's for 5 minutes. Do you want to try on your side?
I know. Let me see if I can get hold of her, because it would be a great pity not to be able to have her on the show. So let's see if we can make it work. Let's see if we can make it work. It'll be phenomenal if we can.
That's very clear.
Hi there.
Hi, Melanie. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh,
is there another way for me maybe to come in without struggling with this technology?
We can hear you. Viola, let me know if you can hear.
Very clearly. It's excellent. The quality is okay.
Oh, fantastic. Melanie, we'll just do it via audio this way.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you.
So you're on the show, and welcome to the show.
Fabulous. I'm finally there. This has been an invitation that's been outstanding for so long. And I'm finally able to be on a CuppaChino Club conversation.
You know what? Sorry, I don't think you can. Hold on a second. I need to make a quick adjustment here, so that you can hear what Viola is saying. So bear with us, everyone. I'm kind of doing this on the fly as we speak. Okay.
How's that?
Okay. How's that?
I can hear you, Viola.
There we go. We've sorted.
So, Melanie, just from my side, thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited to have you on the show.
It's such a pleasure. I'm so glad that you kept asking, and after all this time, I'm able to be part of this CuppaChino Club conversation. Thank you.
Yes, and so we are going to have to do another one once the technology is sorted out, so that everybody can see, you know, just see how beautiful you are and how amazing you are and how vivacious you are. I know it's going to come through in your voice, but I do want people to have a chat with you. Mal, will you just give us an update on what you're currently involved with?
So, you know, I've been transitioning in the last 18 months or so. I have spent the last 15 years in very public profile roles. And so I've slowly started to reduce what I call my public profile. I think there is a transitioning to coming back to myself, having spent a lot of time extending myself on behalf of others and in very external ways. And this really happened, after I turned 50. I just felt that it was time for me to figure out some stuff for me, rather than being, so much of service to everyone else. And so I now still do work that I love, and I work very simply on invitation. I still do a lot of innovation work, leadership work. I work in education, a lot of philanthropy work. And so, I teach a lot now, which is lovely. It's about showing up in rooms and making magic with people. But the two voluntary roles that are still quite public for me are that I'm the chairman of a not-for-profit organization called Street Smart South Africa, and we raise funds for education, skills development, and family reunification programs for children who are at risk of landing on the streets, or if they have been found on the street. So that's the one thing. And the second thing is that I'm also chairman of an organization called Symphonia for South Africa. And most people would know our flagship program, which is called Partners for Possibility, which is a leadership development program that offers leadership development to business leaders and school principals. And really, for me, both of those activities are forms that I'm able to express my active citizenship, because they're both volunteer roles.
Awesome.
So, Melanie, tell us, how has your work been impacted by COVID-19, if at all?
Well, so let me say this, that because I work remotely anyway, I work all over the world. I live between Cape Town and Spain and the UK. So my work has been remote for a long time. So not much has changed for me, but I still feel that yet everything is different, At this time, I was preparing. We were supposed to leave next week to go to Spain for my annual disappearance, and I was looking forward to the summer. Would you believe it? I haven't had a Cape Town winter for like 10 years. And so this is a very strange thing for me, because I would have been busy, both physically and mentally, preparing to leave South Africa. And so my overriding sense right now, in terms of what has changed, is that I am experiencing such a deep, deep gratitude that I can actually be home with my husband at this time, and we can be together. And then I think the second feeling is that I'm still privileged to be able to do work and to make a contribution during this time. So for me, some of the things that have come through around COVID-19 has been about this fight we've had around the future of work. I feel that it's arrived. I feel that this working very differently, working remotely, we may have had some limiting thoughts about it. I think they've unceremoniously been debunked, because both the organizations that I lead, Street Smart and Symphonia of South Africa, we have been working disparately for a long time because we work in partnership. And so the convening opportunity we have has been different all along. But we've had to innovate about how you remain apart and still create connectivity and connection with each other. And it really is about how do you scale intimacy, because a lot of our work is around scaling intimacy. So that's been really interesting for me. But I have had a sense that both personally and professionally, I have been taking a lot of deep breaths, which have been amazing, because when you expel that breath, something new is formed. And I found myself making a lot of connections very intentionally with people that I would usually have a cup of coffee with and a catch up. And so I've done that quite a lot, because I think it's important for us to let people know that they're, in our minds, and that we still care about them, and that we're experiencing the strangeness with them. And then I've also been connecting a lot internationally. I've witnessed a few graduations online. I've got a friend who's defending a PhD in America, and I'll be part of that celebration. And so, my sister lives in Australia, who is your namesake, as you know. So it's been quite amazing just keeping in touch with family and friends. And I feel that I have been more connected in this time than I ever actually have been before. And so technology really makes it easy. And I think it makes it very, very possible for us to create new forms of intimacy and togetherness while we're being apart. And then at the same time, for me, I recognize the value of boundaries. And so I've been very particular about how I structure my day, how I make sure. So today, for example, I had a 7:30 call with Symphonia for South Africa. We needed to do, a catch up and so on. And now I'm ending my day with a call to a group of amazing women whom I know many of you. And this is just a wonderful way to make my soul sing, and so I choose what I do, and I kind of identify when something is a personal thing for me to do, when it kind of crosses the boundaries and it's a bit professional, and even my societal commitments. I think that it's important to continue to make the contribution and to support the efforts right now to keep people safe. And in my local area, I'm responsible for a community safety initiative, and we've been supporting, the work around keeping our homeless people safe and keeping the most vulnerable people in our community, like the old people and women and children, out of harm's way. So that's been really interesting. But Viola, you might not know this about me, because you and I have mostly met in the professional space. I have found that on a personal level, I have just been able to make time for things like meals, which, when you're running, you never do. But for me, it's not just about the eating, but it's been about the preparing and the experimenting. I've been baking and cooking. I mean, these are not things you would associate with this hardcore businesswoman that I have been portraying for a long time. I have been decluttering the home. I've been clearing out things that, should have gone to a better home a long time ago, but they've still been in my home. So, I've been really having this amazing time, and I've realized that as I have been cleaning out and decluttering my personal space, I've felt an internal ease happen and an internal, decluttering happening. And so I think that's been really very useful for me. So, yeah, I think I don't know if you can hear from my voice, but I think this time is just such an amazing gift, and I'm appreciating it just for what it is. And I'm responding to both, business requirements, what I'm feeling called to do, and just stuff that's sitting very much in my own authenticity and my own integrity. And yeah, I feel so blessed, and I'm so happy that I can even share some of that with you. I mean, we still have hard work to do, and I now know in the phases of the organization under lockdown, we've taken the first week, for example, just to catch up and to get admin out of the way, and we are now in a phase where we're saying, right, so we suspect that lockdown might be extended, and the way that we're going to be working is going to be a little bit different going forward. And so how do we put our heads together around innovating what it is that we do? Street Smart, for example, raises funds through a partnership with restaurants and accommodation venues and wine tasting venues. And under lockdown, people aren't eating out. They don't have time they can't, take holidays. So we're not doing any of those tourism things. And so we're working on ways that we can continue the fundraising for our beneficiaries, because the organization Street Smart is actually fine. We keep our operational expenses fine, and so we can keep working, but we need our partners to be okay again. And so we're working on how to get that right. And then just in Symphonia for South Africa, when schools open again and lockdown changes, I think our principals and our schools are going to be needing different kind of support. And so we want to be ready to meet the needs of the industry that we serve. And I think it's the same for business. I've spoken about not-for-profits now, but I think it's the same for business. We can't just do business as usual.
Melanie, you've literally taken the words out of my mouth. I was going to actually ask you, it's business unusual. And I was going to ask you, what is your prediction for South Africa moving forward? Are we going back to our old ways? Can we go back to our old ways? Or are we going to see people segue into doing things differently, even to the point of doing it better?
The one reflection I've had in this time and working with colleagues and with the organizations that I'm responsible for, I have just been so blown away by the capacity of the human beings. And, as somebody who works in the innovation space and comes out of a technology space, I've always felt that the technology is an enabler. And so what we really need to find ways to do is to free up the real resource, the one that actually is creative, and that's the human being. And so I so hopeful that this sort of taster we're all getting of how it can be different, is going to awaken in people something that gets them to be a little bit selfish about what's important to them as individuals, what's important to their society and their communities that they're part of, and what's actually good for the world. And I don't think it's going to be an all or nothing response. I think it's going to be a hybrid. I think there are going to be times when it's absolutely important to work remotely and keep distance. And again, at the same time, I think coming together in workplaces are equally important. And I think the balance is going to be found in how to bring all of these diverse opportunities together and get them to be almost in a way a voluntary response, that people choose it with intention rather than because they have to. And I speaking to some of my colleagues, people have just been appreciating the time that they can spend with family, the literally stopping to smell the roses and the coffee. And I'm hoping that if you understand how our brains work, that this exercise and this time will allow us to get ourselves attached again to our feel-good hormones, because that's what's happening if this is a good experience for us. I mean, we can talk about when it's not a good experience for us. That's a very different thing. But for the most part, people I've been talking to, this has been an amazing experience for them. And so we want to get people hooked on their feel-good hormones so that as a human, you're striving to keep doing that. And in fact, I was speaking to a colleague at NetBank this morning. Productivity in that company is up by 30%. So, of course, I made a joke that people in banking fees should go down by 30%, but they didn't buy that one. But even I have found I am so productive because I have a sense of ease with which I'm doing things now. The work is getting done. And I wish you could see, I've been knitting. I'm now on scarves because we have a project here in the Greater Muizenberg community where we knit scarves, and in wintertime we hand them out to people that we find on our streets, just to, and they're not even homeless people, they're just people we're just gifting because we can. I'm part of a group of people who do this. And I have rows and rows of bed socks. So if there's anyone on this call who's interested in a pair of bed socks, I'd love to hear from you, because I have got rows and rows of bed socks and beanies, because I'm also spending time in the evenings now, watching a little bit of television. But I'm not a TV watcher. That's what my husband loves to do. So I'm there with him, but I'm doing something useful at the same time. So, it's just been incredible. So I hope, my real hope is that we don't go back to how it was before, that we look for ways to keep creating relationship and allow that to make the transaction happen. I've built my businesses on a principle, and it's about showing up and doing the right thing. The money, the products, the transactions, all of those things flow then from there. So I'm hoping people will get it.
Yeah. Melanie, just two comments very quickly. I had a good giggle today because the pickle fish is being made. COVID-19 has not stopped any of the households in my community. The pickle fish is being made. Pictures are being sent on WhatsApp. The hot cross buns are being made. So yeah, I think a lot of people are now just spending time doing the things they love. And we were also talking about, it's an opportunity for you to spend time with your kids, teaching them stuff that's not taught at school. So teaching them to do the laundry, teaching them to wash windows, teaching them to sew on a button, teaching them to knit. Those things that we want to teach our kids, but we never have the time to. So you've got rows of bed socks. I've got so many squares so that we can make blankets for premature babies. So I'm hearing from everybody, they're doing great stuff, and you are such an inspiration. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us.
Well, I love to talk, and so I got an invitation, and here I am. So I'm grateful, for the connection with a group of women. And in fact, you talk like that, I am teaching people over WhatsApp to knit too. So there's a whole bunch of professional women out there knitting bed socks.
Melanie, that's awesome. Thank you for being such a great sport. Thank you for joining us via voice. This was not the way that we'd planned it. So thank you so much for being willing to do this via phone at the last minute. And thank you for your valuable insights. We feel very privileged to have had you on the show, and we definitely would like to reschedule with you again.
Thank you so much. It will be an absolute pleasure to do it again.
Thanks, Melanie.
All right. Lots of love, and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you, Melanie. You too. Bye for now. Well, that was wonderful.
I told you. She's amazing. She's, you know, I met her, and our paths constantly cross professionally, but she's just such an inspiration. You know, you just sort of see people basking in her personality as she walks by. So I'm blessed to know so many wonderful ladies, and you know, Melanie's one of a list of women who I know, and the CuppaChino Club has been such a saving grace to you know, to each other. We've really been there for each other during this time. So, you know, as much as we are appreciating our you know, our essential service workers, and we are appreciating our, you know, everybody who's been caught up in this. I also just want to say to the CuppaChino Club ladies, thank you so much for being part of making this whole lockdown so much easier, and just sharing insights and wisdom. It's just been crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to thank everyone who's joined us today. We're out of time, and we all do want to listen to the president's speech at 8 o'clock. Be interesting to hear what's next for us. I must say he's been phenomenal. That, you know, they've really done a great job of keeping us informed. It's not an easy job. I really do not want to be in his shoes right now, because he has to make some major choices and decisions for an entire country. And it certainly cannot be easy, because he's also got his own family. He's having to see so many people. You know, trying to maintain social distance must be a huge toll on him emotionally as well, you know. So just a shout out to everyone else again in the space who's currently part of our essential workers. A big shout out to every single one of them, from the street sweepers down to our nurses and medics who are on the forefront. We salute you, we thank you, and we ask you to stay safe, be safe. Thank you for everything that you do. And I'd also like to just close off by reminding everyone that the CuppaChino Club does not support fake news, disinformation, or misinformation. Be careful, just hit the pause button before you share, and know that it is a criminal offense in South Africa to share fake news about the coronavirus. So that's final words from me for today. Viola?
Thank you so much to everybody who's joined us. Thanks to our audience members. Thanks for being patient with us while we dealt with our technology challenges. Yeah, and everybody, just please stay safe. I know that whatever gets said tonight will certainly form part of our show tomorrow and our discussion tomorrow. But take care, be safe. God bless everybody. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. From me, Bridget Limband in Cape Town, South Africa, signing off. Take care and see you again tomorrow.